Hey friends, this is Jake again, trying to bring you another video when it comes to mental health. Today I'm going to share with you how to become a mental health professional. And I want you to bear in mind that all this information I'm sharing is from my personal experience, but only in the state of California. Each state will have its own jurisdiction when it comes to standards and how to become a mental health professional. First things first, you're going to need a master's degree. But before getting a master's degree, you have to have a four-year degree. Let me explain that process for you. A four-year degree is very similar to a high school diploma. You have your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year. But I want you to keep something in mind. Not everybody goes to a four-year degree school, usually called a UC or a university. Sometimes they go another path, the path that I had taken. I went to a two-year college. Sometimes these are called junior or community colleges. Now these are actually two-year degree schools, for the most part. So in my case, after I was done with my two-year degree, then I went to a university to finish my last 2 years of my degree. In my case, and in many cases, people graduate with a Bachelor's of Arts or a Bachelor's of Science in psychology. But this isn't always the case. There were many people in my cohort in my graduate program who graduated in history, sociology, and business. They graduated in criminal justice. So before jumping into what kind of degree you're getting, see what kind of grad school you have your eye on. And when I mean grad school, that's short for graduate school or getting a master's degree. For the program that I had my eye on, it stated that you did need a four-year degree. It didn't specify what kind, but you needed a specific amount of prerequisites for that particular graduate program, which in psychology covered all of them. So that's why it was easier for me to choose psychology. So for those of us who graduated in history or some other subject, you may have the four-year degree, which is great, but you still need to complete those other prerequisites for that program. So figure out what that program is exactly looking for first when it comes to the degree. So let's just say you get your qualifying master's degree. Fantastic. Now what's your next step? Well, you got to finish graduate school. I would say predominantly most graduate schools or graduate programs would offer a two-year degree. Mine in particular was a three-year full-time degree. Now the difference between my program and other programs out there is that my program was considered hands-on. My program was called a Master's of Science in Counseling Psychology. Now with my particular programming, which was in California, it required me to actually go in person at a training clinic, which meant that I was actually able to get hands-on interaction when it came to practicing therapy before I even got my degree. Now you might think, who's this person who doesn't even have their degree giving me therapy? Well, great question. The answer is that we are also monitored by other licensed professionals, whether they're a licensed clinical or licensed professional clinical counselor, a licensed marriage and family therapist, a licensed clinical social worker, or a licensed psychologist. In my case, it was a licensed psychologist and licensed marriage family therapist who were monitoring my activities to make sure that what we provide to our clients is of quality, that we're following all our laws, and that we're following all the ethical rules when it comes to treating individuals, especially when you're considered a trainee in your program who does not have their license or even their degree yet. The cool part about this is that you'll actually be able to accumulate some of your hours, which we'll talk about later in the video, required to get your license in the state that you reside in. So not only was I working on my degree, I was actually working on my hours too. Some graduate programs will have you write a thesis. They can typically be between 60 and 120 pages long, depending on the criteria that is set forth in your program. My program in particular did not have a thesis component. Mine actually had a test out component, which means that I had to take a very large comprehensive exam from everything I've learned full time for the past 3 years. And if I pass that exam, then I get my degree. Luckily, I was able to pass on my first try. So after I did that, I had to register as an associate marriage and family therapist. Those 4 extra letters that are after my name, or after Master's of Science, which was after my name, whatever. So as I'm applying, I'm also doing a live scan, which is fancy for saying thumbprint scanning to make sure that they can perform an accurate background check. So once you pass your background check, then you are jumping right into your next portion, which is getting the rest of your hours. In my program in particular, we were well connected with a lot of other programs in town that was outside of the school that ran their own mental health clinics. Some of these jobs and programs were involved in colleges and universities. Some of them were involved with the prison system. Some of them were involved in different hospital or inpatient settings. Some of them are nonprofits. Some of them are for-profits. Some of them are private practices, some take insurance, some don't take insurance. In my program in particular, it was very helpful for me to get connected to a particular clinic that I had my eyes on for the past, well, 4 or 5 years. So luckily, after I took my exit exam, which was 4 months before I graduated, I applied for a position that I really had my eyes on for a very long time. I've been training my way up toward it. Luckily, I was able to get an interview, and once that interview was complete, within 2 hours, I was hired at that position. And because I was hired, that meant that after I get my master's degree, I was able to continue my hours. So not only can you gain hours pre-degree, you can also, well, you would gain the rest of your hours post-degree. So after I got my master's degree, I was able to jump right into my job 1 month after I graduated. Then you just start accumulating hours. And also, it's good to bear in mind how many hours you accumulate. In the state of California, the BBS requirement in order to become a licensed and marriage family therapist is 3,000 hours. Now, these hours break down into providing treatment sessions, assessment sessions, and for couples, individuals, children, adolescents, families, so that once you're licensed, you'll be able to say, I can treat, X amount of populations due to my experience. So as you're getting your hours in that first year outside of grad school, you're claiming your hours, you're having them signed off by your supervisor, then comes a time that you have to take, within certain time constraints, a law and ethics examination. Now, during grad school, you will have 1 or 2 separate courses of law and ethics. In my program in particular, it was a combined course for law and ethics. So once you take that examination and pass it, then you just finish the rest of your hours all the way up until 3,000. And at this point in time, I should be around 2,200 hours. So I have about 800 to go, and that should go pretty fast. Now, it's also good to bear in mind that you are unable to actually receive your license 2 years after you've graduated grad school. So even if you've accumulated your 3,000th hour before that 2-year mark outside of grad school, you still would have to wait 1 day after 2 years in order to apply for your license. So after you accumulated your last hour, then you apply to take your licensure exam, which is the final exam in order to get your license in the state of California. You might be asking too, what's the difference between an associate marriage and family therapist and someone who's actually licensed? There are some benefits when you are licensed. 1, after 2 years of being licensed as a licensed and marriage family therapist, depending on the jurisdiction again, you can begin supervising other associates, such as myself when I was in grad school. This means a lot of other job opportunities for upward mobility can open. So a lot of people who are licensed can start consulting and working for universities that have these programs, and it just becomes full circle. And when you're licensed, you can actually open up your own private practice. And a private practice is basically your own small business. So there's a lot of benefits in getting licensed. So there you have it. These are the steps in order to become a licensed and marriage family therapist. And if you're interested in similar jobs such as this, you can check out the link below in the description that I'm going to link to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is the BLS.gov. It's basically a website that helps you understand what jobs are available. And once you click on the job, it breaks down what you need to become it, how much they're paid, if they're given benefits, if there's any licenses involved, if there's any schools near you that have this program. It's a great website. So there you have it. I hope this video was really helpful for you today. And if you have any questions for me when it comes to any steps in this process, please comment on this video down below. And once again, I want to thank you for watching this channel. Feel free to subscribe, feel free to share with a friend. And as always, take care.